Bhati Bharata Abhyuta Namadharmasya Tadatmanam Srijamyaham Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Chadushkritam Dharma Sangstapanartaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge.
Everyone together. Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Bhagavan Sri Krishna.
Jaya Bhagavan Sri Krishna.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Surya Vangsha Jayate.
Surya Vangsha Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
Om Hari Om. Very good. Namaste, everyone. It is absolutely my pleasure to be here with you on this Sunday afternoon, what is afternoon for us here in the Vedic Heartland. And we are indeed going to be doing things a little bit differently today. We already had our puja, and as you saw, you had a little bit of a darshana of Sriman Narayana, the beloved murtis of the ISDS, and the representations in murti form of God upon the earth. And with that, what we're going to be doing is actually jumping into our talk. Before we do that, however, just a few very quick announcements. And that is that first, if you would like, please feel free to visit our website, dharmacentral.com, and all of our books are available there, including our very newest book, Be Strong, which has become extremely popular. We've gotten very good feedback on this wonderful work of just a little bit under 200 pages. And the book itself is indeed meant to help individuals to become stronger on every level, spiritually first and foremost, but then on every other level as well. Again, you can find this on dharmacentral.com along with all of our other books as well. So with that, let us dive directly into what we're going to be doing today. And I told people last time it was going to be somewhat of a surprise as far as whether we would continue with Mukunda Mala Stotra or whether we would maybe go on to some other Vedic scripture or passages or something else entirely. Well, as you can see, if you look at the description, we are continuing with the Mukunda Mala Stotra, and we will try to get through the entire thing, actually. 50-something verses. We'll try to finish everything as we proceed each week. And what we're going to be doing today are verses 7, 8, and 9. So indeed, we're going to get through these 3 verses. We'll see if there's time for questions and answers, but we're going to be ending at 3 o'clock on the dot. So all that being said, if you want to follow along with the verses, for those of you who are watching throughout the world, please feel free to look at the description of this video, and all the verses are there. So we're going to begin with Stotra number 7, and it proceeds in this way. I always think of Lord Hari, whose joyful lotus face bears a gentle smile. Although he is the son of the cowherd Nanda, he is also the supreme absolute truth, worshipped by great sages like Nārada. And thus ends verse 7, Stotra number 7 of the Mukunda Mala Stotra. And indeed, as people know, this was written by Maharaja Kulashekhara, one of the Alvars, a truly both wondrous king, actually, very successful king, but also a great stalwart Vaishnava, a very stalwart devotee of the Lord. And let's indeed look at this verse now. First he begins, I always think of Lord Hari. So a beautiful way to start. So again, he makes it very clear to whom he is addressing, toward whom he is speaking about. And he is speaking about Lord Hari. Who is Lord Hari? Well, this is one of the many names of God. As we know in the Vedic scriptures, there are so many different names. There's one scripture called Sri Vishnu Sahasranama, which contains in itself 1,000 names of God. But then there are many other names. Those 1,000 names of God do not exhaust all the names of God. There are so many names of God that it's truly amazing. But indeed, this is one of the names of God, Hari. So he makes it very clear, I always think of Lord Hari. So again, who is Hari? Hari is Narayana, Hari is Vishnu, Hari is Krishna, etc. So we're speaking about Vishnu Tattva very specifically. And as we've said many times, the reason why this is of importance, why he begins in this way, is to make it very clear who he is addressing. He's not addressing just anyone who you want to make up or speculate about. He's addressing Lord Hari. So I always think of Lord Hari. We can speak more about this. This is the process by which we indeed attain God realization. That is, always thinking of God. Always having God there in the forefront of our awareness, in the forefront of our consciousness, in such a way that God is always present with us. Now this begs the question, is God not always present? Of course. But we are not always present to God's presence. So in other words, we are not always aware of the fact that God is present. Well, this is why we engage in meditation. This is why we engage in what is called smaranam, or remembrance of God. That indeed we purposefully try to keep awareness of God there at all times. Well, this is how Kulashekhara is beginning this one verse. I always think of Lord Hari. So, in other words, he is meditating upon God. Now let's go on. Now he gives a descriptive. Who is this Lord Hari? Let me pause for a moment. We know that when we look at all of the various legitimate religions of this world, all of the older religions, etc., the traditional religions, people have not just different conceptions of God. Indeed, there is a lot of linkage, actually. There are certain concepts about God that are pretty much universal, but then there are different conceptions about what is the nature of God. But one thing that we've seen also is that in some religions, even those religions where God seems purportedly to be in the center of everything that is done, etc., the concept of God is hazy. The concept of God is very vague. And indeed, we've seen that this is the case. For those of us, especially who grew up in the West, for people who grew up in the Middle East, etc., when we think of quote-unquote God, whatever you wish to call God, again, it's a very generalized conception of the absolute. God is great. God is nice, etc. You can use very vague terms like this. Well, within Sanatana Dharma, our idea, our goal is to know God intimately. To know God intimately. Now, we know that in human relations, of course, human relations with your friends, with your parents, with your husband, your wife, etc., is it not the case that you want to know people who are of importance to you, at least, as well as possible? You want to know, how do they look? How do they feel? What are their likes, their dislikes, such that you can please them, etc.? Of course, we know that's the case, even in human relationships. should this not be the case in our relationship with God? Why is it that with God, our so-called relationship with God should be so vague? No, should it not be the opposite? Should not this relationship, this vertical relationship that we have with God, should this not be the most vivid of all relationships? Of course it should. This being the case, what makes Sanatana Dharma, and specifically the Vaishnava Marga, the path of the Vaishnava, so unique is the fact that indeed we know God in radically personal terms. We know God as a person. No, not as a yucky, pedestrian, human person with all their faults. No, no, no. That's where the mind of the illusion being goes when we say that God is a person. No, perfect personality, transcendent personality. So indeed, that being the case, what does Kulashekhara say here as a qualifier to who is Lord Hari? He starts to give a very beautiful description. Whose joyful lotus face bears a gentle smile. Think of this. First of all, again, in some religions, Abrahamic, the idea is that if you are to look upon the face of God, it means death. Oh, that's quite literally there in their scriptures. Not in Sanatana Dharma. No, we are meant to, with great humility and reverence and devotion, meditate upon the beautiful face of God. So, whose joyful lotus face. So again, why lotus face? The same reason why we've encountered this again and again and again. A lotus is a beautiful flower. When you see it, it's luminous. If you see a true lotus in full bloom, it's luminous. In the same way, just to give an impression of what is the face of God like. No, it's not scowling, it's not angry. There is no big beard, no. Rather, his face is luminous, like a lotus flower, joyful as well. God is not scowling at us. God is joyful, and he bears a gentle smile. He bears a gentle smile. He's not grinning, like a clown. No, but neither is he solemn. Rather, he has a pleasing smile on his face, such that when we see that face, we understand we are witnessing someone who is smiling because he knows us more intimately than anyone, and we are to know him. What a beautiful portrait of God. Welcome to Vaishnava Dharma. Let us go on. Although he is the son of the cowherd, Nanda. So again, to make it even clearer, who are we talking about? Not this person, that person, someone else. No speculation. No, pick whatever you want, because spirituality is like picking your favorite flavor of ice cream. No. He's making it clear. He's speaking, in fact, not just about Vishnu Tattva, but about Krishna, about the avatar Krishna specifically. So he is the son of the cowherd Nanda. We know that this is the father of Krishna specifically. But then he goes on. He is also, although he is the son of the cowherd Nanda, he is also the supreme absolute truth. Let's pause there for a moment. So this seeming juxtaposition on the one hand, he is the son of Nanda. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the concept of avatara, the idea that God himself loved his creatures, loved his children, loved Bhumi Devi, the earth herself, so much so that he would not only come here, but he would portray himself so that we can understand and not be alarmed. He portrays himself as a child, as the son of Nanda. And for those individuals who have read either the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam or Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book, we see all the adventures that Krishna has as literally a baby, as a child, as a toddler, 3 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old. On the one hand, he seems like a little child. On the other hand, he is also the supreme absolute truth. Contained within that seeming child to our vision is that which is the source of all reality. This is God. This is Krishna. So indeed, what is this beautiful story that I'll tell in brief, because this is the perfect time to tell the story, to illustrate exactly what Kulashekhara is saying here. And I'll tell it very quickly. I won't go into detail. But essentially, when Krishna was very young, I don't know how old, 3, 4 years old, something like that, he was playing with the other cowherd boys, and the other cowherd boys were a little bit upset with him, so they decided to go to his mother, Yashoda, and to lie and say, "Oh, we saw Krishna eating dirt. He shouldn't be eating dirt, should he, Mother Yashoda? We saw him eating dirt." They were lying. But again, that's what children do. And Yashoda immediately goes and looks for Krishna, and she brings Krishna to her. And she asks, "Oh, Krishna, I heard from some rumors from a little bird who chirped in my ear that you were eating dirt. You know you're not supposed to eat dirt. Were you eating dirt?" "No, Mama." Of course, what any child would say, whether they ate dirt or not. "No, Mama." Well, of course, Yashoda didn't know what to think. So she said, "All right, Krishna, come here. Come here. Open your mouth. Come on, I want to look inside your mouth and see if there's dirt there." And Krishna goes up to her, "Okay," and he opens his mouth. And she peers inside the mouth of her little child, her little boy. And at first she's confused because she sees sparkles of lights in there. And then she discerns, those aren't just little lights, those are stars. And then she sees planets, and she sees the sun, and she sees the earth planet, and she sees Vrindavana, and she sees herself looking into the mouth of Lord Krishna as a child. And at that point, she faints in just astonishment. And she ends up okay, she's revived. Everything is fine. But what is the point? The point is, this is what Kulashekhara is saying here exactly. What a miraculous thing that such is the nature of God, that he can appear to our vision like a little child, and yet this is the source of all reality. So he is also the supreme absolute truth, and then to complete this, worshipped by great sages like Nārada. And what is the point of saying this? Oh, it's in a good way an appeal to authority, not as a logical fallacy. That's actually not a logical fallacy. It's actually good to appeal to authority when done in the right way. And that is that what Kulashekhara is saying here is that Krishna is worshipped not just by me. You see, imagine, just try to think within the mind of Kulashekhara. What he's saying is, oh, please don't think I'm some nut and it's just me. No, I'm not the only person saying this, that this little boy is God, that Krishna is God. It's not just me. It's all the great sages. And in fact, not just all the great sages, but including the chief of all sages, Nārada Muni. So thus he's explaining what I've just said to you. Don't think that you can, on the one hand, maintain the claim that you have sincerity within you, spiritually speaking, on the one hand, but on the other hand, you dare to reject what I just said. Because if you do so, you are rejecting what all the sages have said. So this is what he's saying. It's an amazing statement. Now, all that being said, now let's go on to the next verse, and this is Mukunda Mala Stotra, and now verse 8. And I will read this truly beautiful verse. The desert of material existence has exhausted me. But today I will cast aside all troubles by diving into the lake of Lord Hari and drinking freely of the abundant waters of his splendor. The lotuses in that lake are his hands and feet, and the fish are his brilliant, shining eyes. The lake's water relieves all fatigue and is agitated by the waves that his arms create. Its current flows deep beyond fathoming. How truly, truly beautiful. So again, this is Kulashekhara, this great, great king, speaking about Lord Krishna, speaking about God. But again, in such a vivid, beautiful, poetic way. He's speaking from experience. He's speaking from his own bhava, his own experience of God, of Krishna. So let's go through this. First of all, this first sentence is very important, Because how many people in the world today, how many people can relate to this first sentence? The desert of material existence has exhausted me. Indeed, so many people, millions, maybe hundreds of millions, who knows how many, eventually come to this point, which is a good thing, actually. Again, we live in a world of duality. We live in a world where one day is great, the other one is terrible. Then the next day is great, then the next one is terrible. Then the next week is great. Then and it goes on and on and on like this. But it gets to the point where even just the shocks of all this duality in and of itself leads to exhaustion on our part. And if we've lived here in this world long enough, and if we have seen enough, if we have suffered enough, if we have seen those around us suffer, indeed, even those who we don't even know their names, but we know that, there's so many terrible things happening in the world, so many wars that are happening, so many plagues, so many this, so many that, illnesses, etc., so much ignorance, so much internal suffering on the parts of so many people, depression, PTSD, all of these things, traumas. It comes to the point where, interestingly, a wise person will eventually experience this. That, first of all, material existence itself, after a while, does indeed begin to seem like a desert. Why? We know why. Because it's not ultimately our home, because our home is within the kingdom of God. We are meant to be in that place that is avaikuntha, that is without anxiety. And we know that. We know that in our souls. That's why we're never satisfied no matter what we do within the material context. We're never fully satisfied. You can find the biggest billionaires, and they have access to every pleasure. And they're not satisfied. That's the nature of the material world. So indeed, it's compared to a desert. But one who finally comes to this realization, it's like an alcoholic who can finally say, I am an alcoholic, or a drug addict who can finally admit that, etc. That individual who can finally say to themselves, yes, I am exhausted from the material world and not feeling as if I am in the presence of God. Now that person has the greatest of blessings, and that is that they can now begin to truly and sincerely, as a matter of existential dilemma, not just, theoretical understanding, not curiosity, they can now search for God and do so in a real way. But now let's go on. Now Kulashekhara gives this wonderful, wonderful example of Lord Krishna being a beautiful lake. I will cast aside my troubles. So let's pause there for just a moment. Indeed, what is he saying by saying this? That, all right, you have exhaustion of the material world. You have suffered. Now this is how you cast that aside. This is how you cast away those troubles. But today, when? Tomorrow? No, today, now. Don't wait. Now I will cast aside my troubles. And how? By diving into the lake of Lord Hari. So again, Lord Hari is compared to a lake. And you can imagine it's a beautiful lake. Not just any lake, not Lake Erie. A beautiful lake, the beauty of which is incomparable. And Lord Hari, that is Krishna, Nārada, is compared to such a lake. So he says, I will dive into the lake of Lord Hari. What does this mean? What does this mean? It means, what Soren Kierkegaard would call taking a leap of faith. Great philosopher and theologian from the 19th century. One of my favorite Western philosophers and theologians, interestingly. I don't have many of them, but he's one of my favorite. He's many people's favorites. And he coined this term, taking a leap of faith. And what does that mean? That means surrendering oneself unto God completely. You take that leap. Take a leap into that ocean, into, in this case, that lake that is God himself. And you don't worry. Rather, in complete surrender, you dive into that lake that is God. Now let's go on. And drinking freely of the abundant waters of his splendor. So now encountering God, having surrendered to God, we understand what is the splendor of God. What's meant by the splendor of God? It means that intangible quality that is there as a result of who God is, not just an attribute. The splendor of Krishna is not merely an attribute. It can be understood philosophically in an attributive sort of way, but it's more than just an attribute. It is a manifestation of who he is. of his very personality itself. So he says here, drinking freely of the abundant waters of his splendor. And indeed, what is meant by that? Now, having surrendered to God, of course, now we dive deeply into the very personality of God himself and everything wonderful that he is, and we drink freely of that. And what is meant by that? Of course, not literally. This is not literal. God is not a lake. But what is meant by this is that indeed we meditate upon, we understand, we surrender to, we dive deeply into the very personality of Godhead as much as is possible, and in that way transform ourselves. Let's go on. The lotuses in that lake, again, what have we said about lotuses? These are symbols of supreme beauty. The lotuses of that lake are his hands and his feet. So again, just to make it even more personal, his hands are the most beautiful hands in the world. This is God. His feet are the most beautiful feet in the world. And the fish are his brilliant shining eyes. Indeed, it's interesting. Again, the Vedic scriptures, regardless of what smaller minds will say, they all speak with one voice. And again, often when it describes Krishna, this is in Srimad Bhagavatam, this is in other Puranas, this is great Goswamis, this is great Rishis, they will often describe Krishna's eyes as brilliant and as darting back and forth. His eyes are always doing something interesting to the point where you're enraptured just by the beauty of his eyes. Well, that's why it's saying here that the fish are like his brilliant shining eyes. Because what do fish do? They're always swimming around. And when you look upon the eyes of Krishna, you're not just seeing two dead things there staring at you. No, his eyes are full of beauty, full of wonder. So let's go on. The lake's water relieves all fatigue. All right. What is the lake's water? That is God himself. Again, you remember how this verse began, that Lord Hari is compared to the lake. So thus the water is indeed Lord Hari. By surrendering to Lord Hari, it is Lord Hari himself who relieves us of all this fatigue. So again, being exhausted by the material world, having all these troubles cast aside, etc. Well, now God himself relieves all of our worldly fatigue. And we feel renewed, we feel wonderful, we feel ecstatic. And that water is agitated by the waves that his arms create. What does this mean? When we think of arms, we think of doing. When we think of arms, we think of action. When we think of arms, we think of power, etc. So indeed, everything that is happening, all motion, all activity that is occurring around us at all times is created ultimately by God himself, by Krishna himself. Who has ever swam in a lake, a pond, something like this? Well, if there are waves, if there's anything like that, it's due to agitation. It's caused by something, by someone. Well, in the same way, what is being said here is that anything that is occurring, any waves that we see around us, is caused ultimately by God. Through the chain of causality, all the way up to that ultimate karana, karanam, that being who is the cause of all causes and who has himself no cause. So it's amazing. And now, finally, speaking of this lake, which is God, its current flows deep beyond fathoming. Such is the nature of the infinite. Such is the nature of the infinite, that indeed, that lake, i.e. God, is deep, but deeper than we can ever comprehend. And this is the lake into which we have dived. Beautiful. Now let's go on to the very last verse that we will do today, and that is verse 9. O mind, please never stop taking pleasure in thinking of the Mura demon's destroyer, who has lotus eyes and bears the conch and the disc weapon. Indeed, I know of nothing else that gives such extreme pleasure as meditating on Lord Hari's divine feet. How beautiful. So first of all, again, how interesting. We have seen this construct in several different ways, in other scriptures, other prayers, even in bhajans that are a little bit more recent, where indeed Kulashekhara now is addressing his own mind. And indeed, again, we've seen sages do this in the past in many different places, where you're speaking to your own mind. You're encouraging your mind to do the right thing. Now, why would one need to encourage his mind to do the right thing? It's because, of course, with the majority of living beings within the context of the material world, the mind is not doing the right thing. I've spoken about this endlessly in the past, including pretty in depth, actually. There's two videos that came out, in fact, recently, Dharma in Practice, where I talk about yoga psychology and how the mind actually operates in accordance with Patanjali, but then also many other sages. The mind is not under our control. Most people. The mind is not under our control. And how much is that the case? Oh, that varies. There are some people who they so lack control over their mind to the point where they're a danger to themselves and others. These are people who, of course, have to be in mental institutions. But then there's the typical person walking around. Some people have a little bit more control over their mind, but not a lot. They can control their mind to the point where they can function. Oh, they can hold down a job, etc. But their mind is instantly attracted to all those things that are against the very interest of the person. Their mind is carried away here and there, etc. Then there are those who have a good amount of control over their mind, to the point where, they can go to graduate school, earn a PhD by the time they're 25, etc. No, they have a good amount of control. And then there is the yogi. And then there is the devotee. And that individual is meant to have full control over their mind, but not just full control. You see, to have full control over one's mind, that's a wondrous thing. Indeed, Krishna tells Arjuna in chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita to indeed do this, to work on having control over the mind. And even that is a step down from the ultimate goal, interestingly. Not merely to have a controlled mind. You see, let me give you scenarios. Here's an evil psychopath who really gets pleasure from murdering and torturing people, and he has complete control over his mind. Oh my Lord, that's horrible. You see? And 100 different scenarios that I can give. So to have control over your mind is a good thing if you are a good person, but more if you also understand that now having control over that faculty of chitta, of mind substance, now we are to use this for something fully transcendent, completely transcendent. And what is that? To now take that mind and focus it on God. So he is addressing his mind, O mind. And now, what does he request of his mind? Indeed, that transcendent activity. Please never stop taking pleasure in thinking of the Mura demon's destroyer. Now let's pause there. First of all, clarification. Murari. Murari is one of the names of Krishna. And that means the killer of the Mura demon. The Mura demon was a very, very terrible demon who existed a very long time ago. And I won't tell the whole story. People can look it up easily. But to make a long story short, he was one of these demons who was indeed threatening the world. And Krishna himself had to eradicate him. So thus, vinashaya dushkritam. He had to eradicate this evildoer. So this is why he's called, in this case, the destroyer of the Mura demon. So he's speaking to Krishna. So he asks his mind, please never stop taking pleasure in thinking of Krishna, who is the destroyer of the Mura demon. So again, speaking about Krishna. Now let's go on. More clarifiers. Who has lotus eyes? All right, lotus eyes. So very, very nice. Again, his eyes are beautiful like lotuses, and bears the conch and the disc weapon. Again, the reason why all this detail, two reasons actually, two primary reasons I should say. First of all, the more detail, the more descriptives there are of the appearance of God, the easier it is to envision God, to meditate upon God, to think about God, etc. So thus, what is the theme that we're seeing today? It's to think of God, to meditate upon God. How do you do this if you don't know anything about God? You need to know the attributes of God. So thus, he bears the conch and the disc weapon. So in this way, you know who is being spoken of here. It is Krishna, it is Nārada. And now, he ends by saying, indeed, I know of nothing else that gives such extreme pleasure. Now, let's pause. Let's pause. Again, we have to take all these words and clauses very seriously. Why is this the case? Because who is speaking here? It's someone who is apta, aptarshi, apta. Apta is a Sanskrit word not many people know of. I know of it in research that I did on my PhD dissertation 25, almost 30 years ago, something like that. Apta means one who is reliable, a source that is reliable. Apta, the literal translation of that word is reliable. So all that being said, we need to take such words of such a reliable individual very seriously. See, this is not Wikipedia, which is changed at a whim and often for political reasons and dishonestly so, etc., 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 etc. This is not ChatGPT. Same thing applies that I just said about Wikipedia. Rather, this is an individual who proved himself in every way, both martially, both within the world, but as a devotee. This is one of the Alvars. This is an individual who is one of the greatest of devotees. So, thus, we have to take what he says seriously. I know, that is Kulashekhara himself knows, of nothing else that gives such extreme pleasure. So this is the summum bonum of life. What? As meditating upon Lord Hari's divine feet. Meditating upon the lotus-like feet of Lord Hari. So, of course, what is he saying here? He knows of nothing else that gives more pleasure, more extreme pleasure, actually, he says, than doing this. That is, having the form of Lord Hari, of Lord Krishna there before you, and simply meditating upon the beauty of his lotus-like feet. Because when we are doing this, what are we doing? We are indeed participating in the splendor, in the beauty, in the greatness, in the majesty, in the sweetness of God himself. And thus we are satisfied. And thus we come full circle. How did Kulashekhara begin this? That we're not satisfied. We are exhausted with the material world. We are not satisfied. And now, in this sojourn that we have taken with Kulashekhara in these 3 verses, now, finally, we come to that supreme satisfaction. Because now we are meditating upon the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Very good. So with that, everyone, I thank you for listening to my discourse on these 3 verses. We still have some time, which is wonderful. So indeed, well, let's take some questions from people. If anyone has any questions, either in the chat, online, anyone here, please speak up nice and loudly.
Do you know of any examples or stories of where someone was actually controlling their mind to the point, I don't know if that's the right way to describe it, but they were trying to control their mind and do the right thing, and then they went too far and they ignored things that they needed to do or other important things?
A good person you're describing, or just anyone?
Anyone.
There are certainly such individuals who they have complete control over their mind, or at least seemingly so. They have good control over their mind. They think that they're doing the right thing, and yet they end up doing the opposite. Indeed, there are wide variety of asuric beings for who this is the case. Powerful asuras who were on the level of yogis. Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, Ravana was one of these individuals. There are so many individuals who they live very strict lives, actually. See, people don't really understand this. When they think of a powerful, when I say asura, we're talking about being of cosmic significance, not just some George Soros, not just some human, who thinks he's God. No, we're talking about a being who, you could almost think, this must be God. someone like a Hiranyakashipu who can conquer the heavens, which he did, and take over the seat of Lord Indra, etc. When you see such beings, we have to understand that the reason why they're so powerful is because they do have command over their faculties. They do have control. More than this, also, even many evil people, not all, some of them are just self-consciously hedonistic and self-centered, and they know they are, and they really don't care about anything right or wrong. But there are some evil beings, even powerful celestial cosmic asuras, who really think that they're actually doing the right thing. Of course, they're an illusion. They don't know what the right thing is. That's the problem. And what is motivating their thoughts that they're doing the right thing is ultimately selfishness, but so deep-rooted psychologically to the point where they're not aware of it, they're not conscious of it, but it's self-centeredness nonetheless. So can they believe that they're doing the right thing? Sure. Can they be people who are in full control over their faculties? Sure. At least to a very great extent. Not perfectly, but to a great extent. But they're evil. So yes, throughout history there have been such beings, very powerful ones. Yeah, again, I would suggest to people, I don't think I said this, I forget, I know I said this during a Dharma in Practice on our Discord server, but I would say this now as well. For individuals who have not seen this movie yet, please see it, Mahāavatara Narasingha. It just came out somewhat recently, and it's available quite a few places. Unless you, I believe it's in Hindi. Unless you know Hindi, see it with the subtitles, etc. And you will see such a being in action. In fact, several of them. You'll see such beings in action, where they're powerful beings. And again, when we think of a powerful asura, what that means is that they have self-control. But it's a self-control that is motivated by radical egotism, which makes it, like I was saying before, I guess it's nice that they have self-control, but they use that self-control to harm people, to harm the world, to attack Dharma, etc., to attack even Nārāyana himself. So indeed, watch this film when you have a chance, Mahāavatara Narasingha, and you'll see exactly what I'm speaking about. You'll see great yogis who are goodness incarnate, who have control over themselves, specifically Prahlada, who is the main person in this film, but then you'll see the opposite, truly demonic beings like Hiranyakashipu, who also have complete control. They're powerful beings, but they're evil. So indeed, this is why, again, it's not enough merely to have control over yourself, but to then take that self, take all of your faculties, and focus upon that which is the source of all good, i.e. Nārāyana, Krishna, and to then do good, now that you have control over those faculties. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, the the idea that I was thinking about was someone who ignores their emotions, and because some people ignore their emotions and then they don't deal with it, or someone who just doesn't, if they put aside whatever they like their true self because they think they're doing something else they need to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people do ignore their emotions. It's not good to ignore one's emotions. I've said this many times. No, it's important to acknowledge emotions, but at the same time to not be attached to them. So, you have some sort of powerful emotion, good or bad. The good ones are good. The good ones should be cultivated. The bad ones should not. But let's say you have some sort of powerful emotions. You have to acknowledge that. You can't pretend that you're not angry, pretend that you're not sad, pretend this, pretend that. No, you have to acknowledge the emotions, but at the same time, having it now acknowledge them, you have to then become detached from them, not revel in those emotions again and again and again. This is why, for example, speaking of the negative emotions, we have many people today, more than at any other time in human history, actually, of the last 4 yugas. We have more people today who revel in the emotion of victimhood. This is a disease that people have today. In the past, when someone had something not go their way, challenges in life, they didn't see themselves as a victim. On the contrary, they used it as a motivator to then work hard to get out of that situation. Today, the smallest thing happens, and 40-year-old men go into a corner or disappear into their room and cry and cry and cry for 5 hours and do nothing but feel sorry for themselves, and at no point can lift themselves up and do the right thing to alleviate the situation. That's not good. Again, when a powerful emotion appears, you have to acknowledge it. We don't believe in ignoring emotions and stuffing them in. That's a stereotype that atheists have. No, you acknowledge, I'm feeling really angry right now. And you just analyze it. I wonder why. What caused this? Okay, this caused it. Well, and you think about it, and then you realize, well, all right, I understand, but anger is not going to help me. Is anger going to help me? You literally do self-talk. And you say this to yourself, is anger actually going to help me? It's never helped me in the past. I've seen with every example, when a person gets angry, it makes things worse. Now, let me let go of the anger and let me surrender to God. And that way, again, you acknowledge the anger, but now you let it go. And this is what we're meant to do with emotions. This is a healthy approach to acknowledging the reality of emotions while not being entrapped by them. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
My pleasure. Very good. Any other questions here from anyone? We're good. Any questions? Baby Brigade, they're all good? All right. Very good. Very nice. Give me a moment here. Some very, very nice comments. Someone here in the chat says, Be Strong is truly an amazing book. Thank you so much for saying that. Indeed, it was a labor of love, actually. It was a book that I understood was going to be important because I was hoping it would be very, very helpful for people. You know, not to go on about the book, but I truly appreciate your comment, and it is important that people read this book because it is one of the dire needs of today. Exactly what I was saying. How today everyone sees themselves as a victim, everyone revels in their own weakness, etc. And as a result, they're miserable. And the misery compounds and compounds and compounds. They're miserable. They give in to the misery. Now they're more miserable. They surrender to the misery more. The whole time thinking, I'm a victim, I'm a victim, I'm a victim. Why has everyone abandoned me? God hates me. This one hates me. And you see where that leads. Rather, people are meant to go in the opposite direction. And that is exactly what this book, in a very practical way, helps people to do. And that is to be strong. So thank you for that wonderful comment. Give me a moment. Yes. Very nice. Here's another very nice comment. It's not good to go about in pity for yourself. It helps nobody. Absolutely true, Sri Acharya-ji. Yes, that is absolutely true. Very good. Thank you so much again for those wonderful comments. I truly appreciate it very much. And indeed, we have people here. I recognize some of the people, not everyone, but we have people here from all throughout the world and many different places in North America, the United States, Canada, etc. And again, if anyone has any questions, we'll give people just another very short time, see if there are any questions that arise. And if not, we're getting close to the end anyway, which, as I said, we do want to end at exactly 3, if not a little bit before. Certainly not past 3. Very good. Very nice. Here's a very nice question. Namaste Acharya-ji. Is meditation the best tool to control one's mind? Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. And again, let me give you a very clear answer on this. A clear answer and a true answer. Those are two things that you'll rarely find anywhere else and from anyone else. But let me give you the answer. Meditation is the way to control your mind. There is no more powerful practice, technique, etc. than doing meditation. When you do meditation, you are indeed practicing control over the mind. This is why, again, in Bhagavad Gita, many places within Bhagavad Gita, but especially in chapter 6, Krishna explains to Arjuna that, yes, you are to control the mind, and you do this via meditation. And Krishna goes into very great depth, actually. He tells Arjuna how to sit, what he should sit on, his back should be erect, etc., etc. So Krishna himself explains this. The entirety of the Vedic scriptures explain this. So indeed, this is how one gains control over one's mind, on the one hand. On the other hand, from a spiritual perspective, it is also important to understand that control over the mind, while, at first, we do need to strive for that specifically, In actuality, control over the mind is a beautiful, wonderful, and helpful byproduct of meditation. The goal of meditation is not merely to control the mind. Oh, you will have mental control. How amazing is that? That's just a byproduct. The actual goal of meditation is to know God. The actual goal of meditation is to know God. Now, any real follower of Sanatana Dharma would say that, regardless of who they are. An Advaitin, a Shaiva, a Vishishta Advaitin, this one, that one, they would all say that. But the true Vaishnava, what would he actually say is the goal of meditation? Why do we meditate? Just to know God? Or, yes, that's better, to please God. It is to please God. It's an amazing thing. This is the distinction between even those sincere spiritual seekers who are advanced yogis and the Shuddha Vaishnava, the Shuddha Bhakta, that pure Vaishnava. I meditate to know God, oh yes, but more to please God. In other words, out of love. That's bhakti. So I hope that answers the question. Very good. Good. We have one or two more questions here, and I'll try to answer these quickly. How are the Divya Prabandhams of the Alvars related to the Vedas? Thank you. And that was part one, but I see you have a part two here. Did the Alvars reveal the Divya Prabandhams like the Rishis revealed the Vedas? Let me answer this in reverse order. First of all, as far as the Alvars and how they revealed the Divya Prabandhams, and is it similar to the Rishis who revealed the Vedas? It's exactly the same. Yes, this process is a living process. This is what I call the Rishi phenomenon. I wrote about this in my PhD dissertation that became a book, The Vedic Way of Knowing God. And it is a process which, if one follows this process, doesn't matter the era, doesn't matter who you are, as long as you are a pure devotee, indeed, it's the same process of revelation. But then let me remind myself of the first thing you asked. Here, give me a moment. How are the Divya Prabandhams of the Alvars related to the Vedas? Thank you. Very good question. We, as Vaishnavas, that is, on the bhakti level, see them as non-different from the Vedic scriptures, on the one hand. On the other hand, technically speaking, we cannot say that they are actual Vedas, because all of the authorities, who are the authorities? The Rishis throughout time, who are in the Vedas themselves, in the Puranas, etc., they recognize Shruti and Smriti as the Vedic literature. So technically speaking, the Divya Prabandhams do not fall under either of those categories, but at the same time, on the bhakti level, they're non-different. And this is why there's always been that somewhat confused relationship. So, for example, when Ramanuja does his commentaries, he does his Sri Bhashya, he does his commentaries on the Upanishads, on Bhagavad Gita, etc. He quotes from the actual Vedic scriptures. You see, he doesn't quote from the Divya Prabandhams. Why is that the case? Because he understands that distinction. That's there. So, from a philosophical perspective, and more not just philosophical, from a Vedantic perspective, i.e. dealing with the conclusion, the culmination of the Veda, the Divya Prabandhams are technically considered different, separate, but on a bhakti level, they're the same. So that's the distinction that's there. I hope that answers your question. And we have about 1 more minute, so give me a moment. I will answer this one last question. When focusing on the mantra while meditating, should one let the thoughts flow freely but ignoring them? Or is there more of an effort involved in controlling the thoughts? Good question. It's the latter. There is more of an effort involved in controlling the thoughts. So when you allow the thoughts to just flow freely, that's more like vipassana meditation, which is actually a Vedic technique. People don't know this. I actually read about, not under the term vipassana, but this is something that is in the Vedic scriptures, i.e. a form of meditation in which you simply have awareness. Mindfulness, what it's called now, in pop New Age circles. But yes, this is a different meditation technique. With mantra meditation, on the other hand, the idea is that when there are thoughts, no, you should still those thoughts and bring the mind back to the mantra. And all that should exist is the mantra. Let me explain in the smallest nutshell, once and for all, so people, everyone understands this. What is proper, what is termed dhyana, dhyana, D-H-Y-A-N-A, dhyana, meaning meditation. What is proper meditation? It is that you have a point of awareness, a point of focus. That can be mantra, that can be murti, usually it's mantra. And as you are meditating upon the sound vibration of the mantra, nothing else exists within one's awareness but that sound vibration. When you can come to that point and there are no other thoughts that are there bothering you, then you are meditating. That is meditation. So I hope that answers the question. And thank you for that question. Thank you for all the questions. But we will indeed stop here, because I said we would stop very much on time. And with that, everyone, please join us next week. We will indeed be continuing with the Mukunda Mala Stotra. And we did 3 verses today. You see, when I am very determined, we can get through 3 verses, not just 1. So indeed, join us again next week. And before I leave, let me just remind everyone of a few things. Please like this video if you found value in what you learned today, either right now during the actual live stream or after when this is a recording. Please like the video. It helps us tremendously when you do that. Please feel free to comment on the video when it's available as a recording especially. Please subscribe to this channel if you have not yet done so. Please subscribe. Our goal is to grow and grow and grow this channel as we have been for, I don't know what it's been now, 17 years or something that we've had this channel. So please subscribe if you're not subscribed. Again, go to our website, dharmacentral.com. All of our wonderful books are available there on dharmacentral.com. You can see them, purchase them there. Also, feel free to contribute to the International Sanatana Dharma Society. This is a non-profit religious movement, and we need your help on every level. So if you can donate, you can please do that on dharmacentral.com. Please feel free to become a member of the ISDS. If you agree with our principles, our way of being, our way of doing, our worldview, please feel free to become a member as well. Also, join our Discord server, which I haven't looked, but hopefully the link is up there somewhere on the chat. Feel free to join that when you can. And with that, I thank you all very much for being here with us. Join us again next Sunday at the exact same time as we continue with this wonderful, blessed work, Mukunda Mala Stotra. And with that, everyone, namaste. And everyone, repeat after me. Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Nārada.
Jaya Bhagavan Sri Krishna.
Jaya Bhagavan Sri Krishna.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Surya Vangsha Jayate.
Surya Vamsha Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
May Dharma be victorious in our world, in our lifetime, indeed, as soon as possible. Evam bhavatu. May it be so. And as much as is within my power to do so, I assure all of you that it shall be so. Dharma will be victorious in our lifetime. And I leave you all with these beautiful words of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. chapter 18, verse 66, wherein he says, Ma shuchaha, do not fear. Regardless of anything happening in the world now and throughout the rest of this year, regardless of what we see, regardless of what is on the news, regardless of wars and rumors of wars, regardless of anything, know that you are protected by Bhagavan Sri Krishna if you are his devotee. Do not fear. And everyone, namaste.